Is goat farming actually profitable? Here's the honest answer up front. Yes, goat farming can be profitable. But most people who fail at it don't fail because goats are a bad business. They fail because they skip 3 things I'm about to walk you through. Stick around, because the section on why farms actually lose money is the part that will save you the most cash. Let's start with what it costs to get in the door. Goats are one of the cheapest livestock businesses you can start. You don't need much land. You don't need much capital. If you lease pasture instead of buying land, and you start with solid commercial stock instead of show-quality animals, you can build a working herd for surprisingly little. Your does will cost more per head than your bucks, but you don't need many bucks. 1 buck can service a large herd of does, so that's not where your money goes. Here's where your money actually goes.
Feed.
Feed is, by far, the biggest recurring cost of owning a goat. It's the majority of what you'll spend keeping an animal fed for a year, which means it's also the single biggest lever you have. Rotational grazing on decent pasture cuts your feed bill dramatically compared to buying hay and grain all year. The other big one-time cost is fencing. Goats are escape artists. I mean that literally, they will find the 1 weak spot in your fence and they will use it. Good fencing is usually your largest upfront cost after land, and it is not optional. Now, if you're thinking about dairy instead of meat, pump the brakes for a second. Commercial dairy means milking equipment and regulatory compliance, and that pushes your startup cost way higher than a basic meat goat setup. Meat goats are the cheaper way in, and for most beginners, the smarter way in. We'll come back to that comparison in a minute. So, where does the actual money come from? The main one is meat kids. Most of your income on a meat operation comes from selling kids once they hit market weight. Prices move throughout the year, and they tend to spike around major religious and cultural holidays, so timing your kidding season around that demand curve matters more than people think. Sell privately instead of at auction, especially with a meat breed like boar or a boar cross, and you'll typically bring in noticeably more per animal. Milk is a second stream, but it's a regulated one. Raw milk sales vary a lot by region. What actually pays is turning that milk into something else: cheese, soap, lotion. Value-added products carry much better margins than raw milk because you're selling a finished product instead of a commodity. Here's a stream a lot of new farmers don't think about: land clearing. Goats are incredible at clearing brush and invasive plants. Some farmers contract this out by the acre, and in some regions, utility companies actually pay goat farmers to clear vegetation along power lines. That's real income, and it doesn't require a single animal to go to market. Breeding stock is another one. Sell a proven breeding animal instead of a market animal, and you get a real premium over meat price. And if you're working with a fiber breed, Angora, Cashmere, shearing gives you an income stream that doesn't require butchering anything at all. Even manure sells in some markets as fertilizer. It's small money, but it's basically free money since you're already producing it. Okay, so what does this actually add up to? For a small operation, run reasonably well, you're looking at a modest but real annual return. Not huge margins, but real ones. Run it more efficiently, at a larger scale, with better market access, and those margins climb meaningfully. And this matters, on a small herd, that profit is enough to matter. It is not enough to live on, not by itself. And that number is before you count your own labor. That's the part most people skip past. The profitability figures you see quoted online are margin on sales. They are not payment for your time. Goat farming is genuinely low labor compared to dairy cattle, but kidding season, health checks, fence repairs, feeding, that's still real hours every week. If your goal is a full-time income from goats alone, you need one of 3 things: a much bigger herd, a mix of income streams, or direct-to-consumer sales that skip the discount you take at the auction house. Now here's the part I promised you. Why new goat farms actually lose money, because it's almost never because goats are a bad business. Reason 1, parasites. This is probably the single biggest silent drain on a goat farm's profit. Internal parasites cause weight loss and stunted growth even in goats that don't die from them, which means you're paying to feed an animal that isn't converting that feed into saleable weight. Overcrowded pens and overgrazed pasture make it spread faster, so this is as much about how many goats you're running per acre as it is about medicine. Reason 2, kid mortality. Since kids are your main product, losing them at birth hits your revenue directly. It's not just a cost, it's lost income. Cold kids, weak kids that don't nurse fast enough, dirty kidding pens, not enough monitoring during kidding season. These are the most common and most preventable causes. And prevention here is cheap compared to what you lose without it. Reason 3. Predators. Coyotes and loose dogs are the most common predator losses in the US. And because goats are small and valuable, theft is a real risk in some areas too. This loops right back to fencing. Spend on good fencing once, or keep losing animals slowly forever. Reason 4. Buying before you're ready. This one shows up again and again in farmer interviews. People buy goats before the fencing, housing, and feeding plan are actually in place, and then they eat avoidable vet bills and losses while they scramble to catch up. The order matters. Infrastructure first, animals second. Reason 5. No sales plan. You can raise a perfectly healthy herd and still lose money if you have nowhere good to sell it. This gets flagged constantly as the biggest bottleneck to actual profit. A farmer stuck selling only at the local auction earns meaningfully less than one who's already lined up a butcher shop, an ethnic market buyer, or a direct customer base before the animals are even ready. None of those 5 are exotic risks. They're just the normal cost of learning goat farming. And that's exactly why new operations tend to land at the low end of the profit range, while experienced farms, tight parasite control, careful kidding season, an established buyer already lined up, land at the high end. Quick word on meat versus dairy, since people always ask. Meat goats are the more forgiving way to start. No milking parlor, no cold chain equipment, no dairy license, and demand is steady instead of requiring you to build a subscriber base for fresh milk. The trade-off is a lower ceiling. A meat goat just won't generate what a dairy goat can over its lifetime. Dairy goats have a much higher ceiling, especially once you're into value-added products like cheese. But that ceiling comes with real regulatory weight, and raw milk laws vary a lot by where you live. Some places won't let you sell raw milk direct to consumers at all, which pushes you into licensed processing or on-farm-only sales. For a first venture, meat goats, or a small fiber operation if you already have a buyer, are the lower-risk way to learn this business before you take on dairy-level infrastructure. So, bottom line, what actually determines whether you make money? It comes down to 4 things you can control. Feed cost, because it's your biggest recurring expense, and good pasture management swings your margin more than anything else. Kid survival, because kids are your main product, and a herd with poor survival is losing most of its revenue before it ever reaches market. Market access, because selling at auction versus selling direct, or into a holiday demand ethnic market, can change what the exact same animal is worth. This is often the single biggest lever on your total income. And diversification, because farms stacking 2 or 3 income streams, meat plus grazing contracts or dairy plus cheese, are consistently more resilient than farms betting on just one. Goat farming is one of the more accessible ways into profitable livestock, lower land needs, lower startup cost, faster reproduction than cattle. You can realistically build a break-even or modestly profitable small herd within a year or 2. But go in with real expectations. On a small operation, this is supplemental income or a growing side business in year 1 and 2, not a guaranteed living wage from day 1. The farms that turn this into serious income share 3 things. Tight control over feed costs, a market that pays better than the local auction, and at least one revenue stream beyond just selling kids for meat. And one last honest note, the numbers I gave you are general patterns. They shift by region, by breed, by how good your local market access actually is. Before you put real money in, go look at your specific local auction prices, your local processor, and your local land lease rates. That's the research that actually protects your investment. If you found this valuable, hit the like button, share this video with another farmer, and subscribe to Farm Scale for more practical farming insights. Remember, farming isn't just about growing, it's about scaling. See you in the next one.